Einbecker Winter-Bock.
And remember, life is too short to be drinking shitty beer.
Welcome to another edition of Bands, Bikes and Booze Reviews. Today we have got another Winter-Bock, and this Winter-Bock is called a Winter-Bock, but it's also called a Doppelbock as well. Confused? You will be. Now, I've just reviewed the Winter-Bock from Bitburger, and I have to say that was absolutely superb. I really did enjoy that. This is basically a Bock beer from the people who invented the style. Now, Einbeck is a region in Germany, in Saxony, and Einbecker are the brewery, and they are generally credited with being the inventors of the Bock beer style. Now, I've tried a few of their beers on the channel. If you want to do a search, I know I keep banging on about a search, but a lot of people in the comments keep asking me to review this beer and review that beer, and I always have to provide them with the link. No disrespect, but just have a look in the search engine and you probably will find them. It's pretty simple to use. Just go to the homepage of the channel, check out the videos tab, hit that, and there's a little magnifying glass. Just put your search term in there or the beer you're looking for, hit enter, and hopefully you'll get the review that you are looking for. Einbecker, getting back to that. Einbecker, interesting brewery. One thing that fucking grinds my gears with this lot, all their beers, I don't know if you can see it, but all their beers come in green bottles. Now, they do dark beers and they do light beers, and the light beers that I tried, again, saying, you know, if you look up the reviews on the channel, some of them didn't taste that great. However, Winter-Bock is a style that, well, Bock beer is seasonal, to be honest, and if you look at the categorisation of Bock beers, you get Maibock, you get Winter-Bock, you get Weizenbock as well, which is a wheat-based Bock beer, and it was generally used as a fest beer as well, believe it or not. It's quite strong. The ABVs on these Bock beers do tend to be a little bit on the hefty side. Now, the one I've just reviewed, the Bitburger Winter-Bock, or Winter-Bock I should say, if I'm going to pronounce it properly in German, that was 7%, and you've got to give these beers a little bit of respect. Now, the beer generally is malt forward, but having just tried that Bitburger Winter-Bock, that had very, very distinct hop character on there. There was a light spiciness to it, but there was a seam of sweet orange peel or orange zest going through it. Now, that's a contradiction in terms, because orange zest is normally bitter. This was quite sweet. I was more liking it to a clementine or a tangerine, but that was due to the hops that we were used in there. They used their own brand of sealed hops, or Siegel hops as they call it, and there's also Callista hops on there as well for the aroma. Did make for an interesting beer. I was very, very impressed. I give it a 9 out of 10. The reason I'm reviewing this now is I'm doing it directly after. I want to try out what the what should be the definitive style of Winter-Bock from the originators of the style, but they've got it down as a Winter-Bock, but on here it also says, and I don't know whether you can see this again, it's very, very subtle on the label, but if you can you see that there, it does say Doppelbock on there as well. So you've got two types of styles, and I'm holding this up, I've got a big light there that's shining down. I'm holding that up to the light. I hope I'm not going to skunk this beer. So what I'm expecting from this beer is a really nice Doppelbock. Now, I've tried some really good Doppelbocks in the past. The ones that really stick out for me, especially notable, are the offerings from some of the lesser known breweries in Bavaria. But one that really did stick out for me was the Kloster Weltenberg Doppelbock. Was for me one of the best I've tried. It was absolutely superb, and it's one of them beers that you could drink all night. However, as I mentioned, the ABV is very strong in these beers, so you have to give them a certain amount of respect. I'm not going to go too much into this brewery. I've done a history of the breweries on all the other Einbecker reviews that I've done, but this brewery originates from 1378, so they are pretty old. They've got a lot of experience in brewing these styles, or this style of beer, Bock beer. They basically invented it, and everything else is an imitation. This was kindly given to me by my mate Norby from Germany. Thank you very much for that, mate. That really was a kind gesture. He's given me a load of beers. There's going to be a lot of German beer reviewed on the channel, so if you're not a fan of German beer, then you may want to switch off for a month or so. There are going to be some English beers and other offerings involved, but it's mainly going to be German stuff, so watch this space. So without further ado, let's stop fucking about and let's have a look and see what's going on with this beer. Right, this is a 500ml, no, it's not a 500ml bottle, you lying bastard. It is a 330ml bottle. The alcohol in this is 7.5%. So you got to be careful with it. It's a Winter-Bock stroke Doppelbock, as I've mentioned, so really can't give you an indication of the style because there's two conflicting characterizations there. There is no brew sheet, unfortunately, and they don't do it for any of their beers. What they do say, though, is that they use the best hops, the best malt, and they use their own house yeast. This has got the highest gravity of any of their beers, so it does look promising. Will the green bottle ruin everything? Let's get it open and let's see what's going on. Right, I mentioned it in the last video as well, but I'm going to use this for a few beers. This is the novelty bottle opener that my missus bought me for Christmas. It's quite efficient. You just put it down on the, if I can demonstrate this to you without fucking ruining everything. Come on, you twat. Or is it off? Oh, it's off already. Oh, there we go. We didn't do it on the last one. I don't know what the Bitburger cap was made of, but it's got a little magnet there, so it just pulls the cap off and it holds it there, so that you don't lose it. Now, the cap is pretty nondescript. It's just got a big E on it, and it's a metallic red colour. Nothing to see here. Not as good as the Bitburger Winter-Bock cap, but oh, this does look like a Doppelbock, I have to say. Looks very nice indeed in ye olde glass. Look at that. That is like a very, well, it's like a cross between an amber, dark amber, and chestnut colour on the nose. The aroma, not getting much, to be honest. Oh no, we're getting something now, hang on. Very faint though, it's very faint. There are elements of caramel malt on this, which is what I'd be expecting, but there isn't much else. Let's get the rest of it in the glass and see what's going on. Now, 7.5, I'm going to try and give this an aggressive pour to try and get a head on it. Probably not going to get much through the head, but oh yeah. Oh, there's a weird aroma coming from that, and it doesn't fucking smell too good. What is that? I can see what they're trying to do. They've got that sweet caramel malt underneath it, but there is something going on here. And it smells almost nasty. It's like an acidic lemon, if you can imagine that. And not in a good way. Almost like the tannins, them burnt tannins are coming through on it as well. And I'm wondering whether it's got something to do with the green bottle. Who knows? Why do you put it in a green bottle? Just put it in a fucking brown bottle, you idiots. Okay, before the head dissipates, not too impressed with it so far, but the proof is in the tasting, as they say, so let's shut up and get this down my fat Gregory Peck. Zum Wohl, as they say in Germany. It's not too bad, but it hasn't got that huge caramel sweetness that you normally get on Bavarian Doppelbocks. This is a little bit different. I'm wondering whether the green bottle has done something to this, because there is it's not skunky flavour or aroma, but it just tastes a little bit harsh, a little bit aggressive. Maybe it's something to do with the yeast, because Bavarian yeast does tend to be quite sweet. It's got a lot of honey overtones in it. This doesn't appear to have that in as much abundance as the Bavarian stuff, I have to say. But first mouthful, not too bad. There's almost like a powdery element to this. I'm wondering what that is. It's really strange. It's not unpleasant, but it's different, and I'm not sure whether it's different in a good way or a bad way, to be honest. There is the usual elements of what I would expect in a Doppelbock. Quite big caramel malt, bordering on toffee malt. Fair bit of sweetness on there, but again, as I say, not as sweet as the Bavarian stuff. Not bad, just a little bit different. It's that finish that's doing it. It's very, very dry. It's like it's drying your mouth out, and it's feeling powdery, which is a bit strange. I don't know whether it's the ethanol that could be doing that. Maybe 7.5%, so it is a little bit hefty. But I've not really had that in a Belgian beer. I'm looking at the sell-by date. It's October 2023, so alles klar there. Bit more aroma coming through now, and it's quite nice, I have to say. There is some elements of almost sherry-like aromas. I mean, I'm talking really subtle here, but there is a little bit of that, a little trace of ethanol, but not a lot. But it's that finish, that dry finish. And when I say dry, I don't mean dry as in crisp, I mean dry as in it literally dries your mouth out. There it is again, on the tongue. Is this some infectious disease I've caught that means beer will do that? Well, it isn't, because I've just tried the fucking Bitburger stuff and that hadn't materialised. But it's really strange. I don't think I've had a beer that's done that before. It's almost like you've got some kind of powder in your mouth, you know, where you pour powder. Or imagine eating a mouthful of flour. I'm not talking about the flavour now, I'm talking about what that would do. Well, not a mouthful, but just a few grains of flour. That will just dry out all your saliva. That's what this is doing. I'm wondering why. Because I've not had that before. I have to say the aroma's quite nice. The more I sniff, I'm getting sort of bigger elements of caramel and toffee on this, and there is a bitterness to it on the aroma, which does make it, or it does remind me a little bit of an English beer. Interesting, in a good way, not in a bad way. It is very smooth, it's quite balanced, but it's just that finish, it's just really weird, it's freaking me out. Because my mouth's dry now, and I want to drink more of it, and I know I shouldn't, because this is even stronger than the Bitburger stuff. So I'm going to take one more mouthful, and I'm going to have to put it down, because this is, for all its faults, it's going down quite nicely. Weird, that dryness on it. That's the only fault. I think the malt character could be a little bit bigger on this. It could have been really good if it had I don't know, just a little bit more of that honey sweetness on it that complements the dark malts on this. It complements the caramel and the toffee, the bordering on the toffee. The toffee character isn't big on this, but it isn't bad, I have to say. It does taste very nice indeed. So what is the verdict on the Einbecker Winter-Bock? Well, they call it a Winter-Bock, and it's got Doppelbock written on it as well. Why not just call it a Doppelbock? Who knows? Not bad, I have to say, but I don't think you can hold a candle to some of the better Bavarian Doppelbocks, because essentially that's what it is. If you're going to put Doppelbock on there, I'm going to class it as a Doppelbock. Maybe the marketing big knobs have said, well, we're not selling much of this dark beer in winter, let's call it a Winter-Bock, but it's still going to be a Doppelbock. Either way, it's not too bad. 2 complaints. The fucking green bottle. Stop putting your beer in green bottles, for fuck's sake. You can hardly see it. If ever there was a brewery that didn't need to put their beer in dark bottles, it's Einbecker, because a lot of your beer is dark, and I question why. And there aren't many people that do this, actually, or I say many people, many breweries that do this. They don't put dark beer into green bottles. It just sort of defeats the object. Clear bottles, yes, I have seen that quite a lot, but green bottles, nah. I think that could possibly have a bearing on the flavour. If not this beer, then on some of their beers, definitely. The dryness in the mouth on the finish, that's a little bit disorientating. It's not really unpleasant, but it's just different, and it's not something I'd expect from this kind of beer. Normally you'd get quite a big finish on it, and it would leave you wanting more. You know, that old chewy saying that they use to describe the flavours, when they say chewy, I think they mean like a very, very big bodied finish on a beer. It's used a lot in English dark beer styles, and also as well I think it applies to German dark beer styles, such as definitely Doppelbock as well. So you're not really getting that. It's very, I don't know, it just dries the saliva out of your mouth. Not unpleasant, don't get me wrong, but not really what I'd expect from a Doppelbock. It's weird. It just does it on the end of the tongue. Very strange. There's probably some scientific explanation for it. I'm not a fucking egghead. I don't know what's going on there, so I'm not going to even attempt to tell you what the fuck is going on. But what I will say, all things considered, it isn't that bad. I'm going to give it a 7.5. I think it warrants that, because it does retain a fair amount of the Doppelbock character. You've got the caramel malt going on there, you've got a little bit of toffee malt, and that's about it really. And then you've got that strange finish on it, which is really throwing me. Knocking marks off for that, and I'm knocking marks off for the green bottle, which I think, if not on this beer, it does have an effect on the other beers as well that they do. So fucking stop it, Einbecker. Yeah, so 7.5 out of 10. If you can get it in the UK, I would say, yeah, give it a go. See what you think. You may like it. In Germany, this is certainly northwest Germany. This is relatively easy to get hold of. In West Germany, Cologne, them sort of areas, Saxony, obviously where this is from, then you're going to be able to get some of this stuff. And I have tried quite a few of the Einbecker range, but it isn't bad, I have to say. So I'm going to give it a solid 7.5 out of 10. And yeah, if you can find it, give it a go. I'd love to hear your comments, so please stick them in the comments. And remember, beer is working class champagne.